In a small coastal town in the Philippines, where tin roof houses clung together like they were afraid of being blown away by the next storm, lived a boy named Mateo Cruz. Mateo was 13 years old, but life had already aged him far beyond his years. Every morning before the sun rose, he helped his mother sell fried bananas by the roadside. On good days, they earned just enough to eat. On bad days, they went to sleep hungry. Music was not something Mateo learned in school. It was something he found accidentally, through an old radio his father left behind before he disappeared to look for work and never came back. That radio barely worked. Sometimes it crackled more than it played music, but one night, while Mateo was tuning it slowly, a song came on that stopped him completely. A strange melody filled the room, calm and haunting at the same time. Then came the words, "Welcome to the Hotel California." Mateo didn't understand all the English, but he felt something in his chest he had never felt before. It felt like longing. It felt like escape. From that night on, whenever that song came on, Mateo would close his eyes and sing along quietly, copying the tone, the emotion, the sadness hidden beneath the smooth sound. Mateo never thought his voice was special. In his town, everyone sang to survive boredom or pain. But people started noticing. Fishermen resting near the shore would stop talking when Mateo sang. Neighbors leaned out of windows. Once, a tourist recorded him on a phone and told him, in broken Tagalog, that his voice sounded like it had lived 100 lives. Mateo smiled politely but didn't believe it. Dreams were dangerous where he came from. They made hunger hurt more. One afternoon, a local teacher heard Mateo singing after school and told him about a televised singing competition holding auditions in the city. Mateo laughed. The city was hours away. The audition line would be long. They would want paperwork, clothes, confidence. He had none of that. But his mother listened quietly that night and made a decision that changed everything. She sold her only gold ring, the one thing she had left from her wedding, and handed Mateo bus fare the next morning. She told him that even if he failed, at least the world would hear his voice once. The journey to the city felt unreal. Mateo had never been inside a building taller than 3 floors. When he reached the audition hall, the line wrapped around the block. Boys with styled hair, girls with makeup and trainers, people warming up with loud confidence. Mateo almost turned back. He felt invisible. But then he remembered the radio. He remembered his mother's ring. He stayed. When his turn finally came, the producer asked him what song he would sing. Mateo said Hotel California. The producer raised an eyebrow. Many contestants chose safer songs. Easier songs. But Mateo only knew one song that belonged to his soul. The producer shrugged and waved him in. Weeks later, against all odds, Mateo stood on the main stage. Bright lights burned his eyes. Judges whispered to each other. One of them asked where he was from. Mateo answered softly. Another judge smiled kindly but clearly expected nothing. The audience murmured. A poor boy from a small town rarely shocked anyone. The music started. The first line came out rough, nervous. Mateo's hands shook. Then something happened. He closed his eyes. The stage disappeared. The audience disappeared. It was just him and that old radio again. His voice settled into a deep, haunting calm. Each note carried pain, hope, and a strange wisdom no child should have. By the second verse, the judges stopped taking notes. One leaned forward. Another pressed fingers to lips. By the chorus, people in the audience were crying quietly. Mateo wasn't copying the original singer. He was telling his own story through the song. When he sang about being trapped, about a place you can never leave, it felt personal. It felt real. And when the final note faded, the silence was heavy. For 3 full seconds, nobody moved. Then the room exploded. The audience stood as one. Judges wiped tears from their eyes. One judge admitted they had heard that song 1,000 times but never like this. Another asked Mateo where he learned to sing. When Mateo explained about the radio and the roadside singing, one judge covered their face, overwhelmed. But the biggest twist came when a judge asked Mateo what he would do if he won. Mateo didn't say fame. He didn't say money. He said he wanted to fix his mother's roof and send his younger sister to school so she wouldn't have to sell bananas like him. That was the moment the room broke. One judge stood up, walked slowly to the golden buzzer, looked back at Mateo, and said this was why the show existed. Then they slammed it. Gold rained from the ceiling. Mateo froze. He didn't understand at first. When it hit him, his knees gave out. He cried openly, not like a performer, but like a child who had carried too much for too long. His mother watched from home on a borrowed television, screaming and crying as neighbors rushed in. But the story didn't end there. After the show aired, some people questioned if the moment was real. Others accused the show of exaggeration. Mateo saw comments online saying he was too poor, too rough, too raw. The pressure crushed him. For a while, he stopped singing. Fame came fast, but so did fear. He worried he would never sound that good again. Before the live finals, Mateo almost quit. The night before, he called his mother and said maybe the judges were wrong. His mother reminded him that the golden buzzer didn't mean perfection. It meant belief. On finals night, Mateo returned to the stage stronger. He sang with control, confidence, and heart. He didn't win the competition. But he won something bigger. Recording offers came in. Scholarships followed. His family moved into a real house. His sister went to school. And Mateo kept singing, not to escape his past, but to honor it. Years later, that same song still plays on the radio in his hometown. And whenever it does, kids stop what they're doing and listen, believing that maybe, just maybe, their voice can change everything too.